February 23, 2021. That is the original release date of the Sony FX3, which has a lot of us wondering when we might see the Sony FX3 Mark II or the Sony FX, who knows what Sony will call it, but I think there's a lot of filmmakers out there that just want to know when the next camera is going to be released. I myself actually bought the Sony a7S III about a year before that, or 6 months before that, which is very similar to the Sony FX3, just has a little bit of a different body. And I've been looking to pick up the FX3 over the last 6 months, but I'm kind of like waiting. I'm in that limbo trying to see if we get any new news from Sony about the Sony FX3 Mark II. There's been some rumors saying that it was going to come out kind of towards the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, but there's still nothing 100% confirmed. So I guess time will tell on that camera. But that all being said, in today's video, I'm going to be covering some of the rumored features and also throw in what features I would like to see on the new Sony FX3 Mark II. So the Sony FX3 is already a great camera. It has a very nice sensor. It shoots 4K 10-bit, and legitimate Hollywood box office movies have been filmed on this camera, specifically the creator. So already holding a really great camera, what type of features could potentially be released on a new version of this FX3, and what would make this camera just an absolute game changer? So the first feature that is rumored, and also a feature that I would really like to see, is actually a global shutter. So without getting too technical, what a global shutter is, it would allow you to get really quick movements and kind of avoid a common issue called rolling shutter. And to just kind of dive deeper into that problem, what rolling shutter is that, let's say that you are shooting something and you make a quick movement to the left or a quick movement in and out, you'll start to see a little bit of shakiness and just like a not really clean image when you're not using a global shutter. So I'm not sure if they'll be able to actually fit that into a small body like the FX3, but if they can, I think that would be a huge plus to the camera. Moving into the next feature that I would like to see is that I would like to see an upgraded sensor. So the sensor that the FX3 currently has now is the same sensor that the Sony a7S III has had, and they released that camera back in 2020. So at the time of making this video, that means that that sensor is over 4 years old. Looking at some of the other Sony cameras that are currently on the market and that have been released over the last few years, there has been some upgrades on their sensors, so I'd like to see some of those capabilities on the new Sony FX3 Mark II whenever they do, or if they ever do release the camera. This would just basically produce a even better image quality than we already currently have. And not to say that the FX3 already has a killer image quality and a killer look, but this would just be the cream of the crop and make this camera even better. The next feature that I would really like to see on the Sony FX3 Mark II would be internal NDs. Now guys, I'm not sure also if they're going to be able to add this to such a small camera. There's not too many cameras at this caliber or this size that actually do have internal NDs. The only one that I can think of would be the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro, which is a lot bigger and a lot thicker of a body compared to the Sony FX3. However, I do think that a lot of filmmakers would just go crazy about internal NDs. I actually own the Sony FX6, and let me tell you guys, having internal ND filters just makes my life so much easier when I'm filming, as I don't have to worry about putting another filter on top of my lens. The fourth feature that I would really like to see on this new camera, if possible, would be some sort of raw Sony RAW. Now I know there's like a patent and there's some issues with actually filming, internal RAW on some of these cameras due to Red having that patent and all that sort of stuff. But if Sony would be able to get around it by having their own version of RAW or something close to RAW in their cameras, in their cinema cameras, that would be another absolute game changer. As one of the reasons that I still film on Blackmagic is because Blackmagic does have their own version called B-RAW, And although it's not true raw, guys, like, you can really change the colors, and you can really play around in post, being able to change the ISO and being able to change the white balance. Now, you can already shoot this type of raw. You can shoot ProRes raw by connecting the FX3 to an external monitor, specifically one of the Ninja 5s. But if you'd be able to do it just straight out of the camera, I think that would be an absolute game changer and a plus, especially for me. Now, the last feature that I would really like to see on this camera would be some sort of 8K or 4K at a higher frame rate. Now, I don't think that is absolutely necessary at this current time and state, especially based on, you know, all the cameras on the market and just 4K being streamed on the current phones and monitors that we have. But if the camera did have the capability of shooting at 8K or shooting at a 4K 240 frame per second, guys, this would be a camera that you could pretty much keep in your camera bag for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or even 10 years down the road. That would just be another cream of the crop, making this camera an absolute game changer. So yeah, just based on all the features that I just kind of went over, of course, that would be super cool to see it on the new version of this camera. Some of them are realistic, some of them are not realistic. Let me know down on the comments down below what you guys would like to see on the FX3 Mark II. And also let me know if you guys are just gonna go ahead and pick up the FX3, if you're gonna wait around for who knows when the FX3 Mark II will be released. If you guys enjoyed the video, check out my channel. I do a bunch of tech review and I show you guys how to make money as a content creator. I actually scaled my agency up to $60,000 per month. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.